Good morning from paradise. My name is Crypto Amaru. It is Wednesday, March 5th, and I'd like to start doing something slightly different with these kind of daily recordings that we've been doing. Wanted to start touching on some of the most impactful news and stories from the day and analyze them, evaluating them, bullish, bearish, what's our take on them? So we'll start with today. There's 4 or 5 stories I wanted to cover. And it being now 2 days from the quote-unquote crypto summit, the White House crypto summit coming on March 7th. We'll start with that story. They just revealed the names of the individuals who will be attending this press release or meeting. And there's obviously some big names on there, right? We got Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, who we all know and love, massive Bitcoin bull. We have Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase. We have some big VCs, the guy from Multicoin Capital, There's the Chainlink founder as well. So the list goes on and on. A lot of big names. But I think the bigger sort of story there actually comes from Howard Lutnick, who's the Commerce Secretary under Trump. And he's been going out saying, look, Trump is obviously very bullish on Bitcoin and wants to do the strategic reserve. And Howard Lutnick has gone so far as to say that he thinks that there will be a major, meaningful, and detailed announcement coming out of that conference on Friday. So that would be huge. This is the exact quote. A Bitcoin strategic reserve is something the president is interested in. He spoke about it during the campaign trail, and I think you're going to see it executed on Friday, Lutnick said. Now, I don't know how much Trump and Lutnick are talking on a regular basis for Lutnick to know for certain if there's going to be some kind of executive order coming out on Friday, but if there is no executive order and it is just more talk and, patting each other on the back and let's make crypto great again and blah, 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 I think the market's going to react actually negatively to the meeting if it's just more talk and no action. So we need action. Sounds like Lutnick's in the know. Sounds like there will be action. There will be an executive order signed. If that happens, obviously we are going to take off. And that in conjunction with hopefully looks like Trump walking back some of these tariffs as he just did with the announced with walking back the tariff for the auto industry. Perhaps we start to see a reprieve in the market. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Lutnick's in the know. Now you guys are in the know. So big story. Let's see what happens on Friday. We will be waiting with bated breath. Okay. I want to shift gears to probably the most important asset in crypto other than Bitcoin. Of course, I'm talking about Ethereum. Ethereum has been lagging. We know it's been lagging. It's at 4-year lows relative to the price of Bitcoin, which is kind of crazy to think about, kind of mind-boggling that, we can have all this progress as a network and, the upgrades that have happened and DeFi and all the usage on the chain. Obviously, there's been competitors. There's been headwinds. There's been challenges too. But for it to be at a 4-year low relative to Bitcoin, feels to me like it's undervalued. But let's talk about what's coming up vis-a-vis Ethereum. So one of the big headwinds that we just saw was the fact that the Bybit hacker stole, 1.4 billion worth of ETH, right? And the news from today is that he has laundered 100% of that money. So he is sold. It's the state of it's the state of North Korea. It's the country of North Korea. The Lazarus Group. That's who stole the money. And anyway, they laundered it. They sold it all, a lot through DeFi exchanges like Thorchain, which we won't get necessarily the implications of that. But the bottom line is there have been a lot of sell pressure, 1.4 billion worth of sell pressure over the last 10 days. And that, of course, coincided with a lot of volatility, the tariff wars, Trump announcing his strategic reserve, and then, the manipulation happened around that. So it's happening in that wider context of a lot of volatility. But, we're sitting at right now, let's say 2.2K per Ethereum token. That's really not that bad, considering what it just went through with this hack and the fact that the 1.4 billion has now been sold. So that headwind is gone. That overhang is gone. And Bybit, we know, has been buying up the Ethereum to counteract some of the losses that they incurred. So let's see. That headwind's gone. The hacker has laundered 100% of that money. By the way, some of that apparently can still be recovered. That is what the CEO of Bybit's gone out and saying, that 70% of the funds are traceable still. So that's the good news. Perhaps they'll be able to freeze some of that, trace it, get it back somehow, some way. I don't know how, frankly. North Korea is a tough nut to crack. But we'll see how that plays out. The bottom line is that overhang is gone. That ETH has been sold, and perhaps we start to see an uptrend here. So what would cause that uptrend, though? What would be a catalyst outside of, tariffs getting resolved and Bitcoin strategic reserve and crypto strategic reserve, obviously huge factors. But moving on to our next story, we've been talking a little bit about the Pectra upgrade for Ethereum. This is the mainnet update, probably the biggest update to the Ethereum blockchain since the upgrade where they introduced staking, proof of stake. So this is a big deal. There's apparently a bunch of different proposals and kind of upgrades wrapped up into this bigger upgrade that's going to occur. So 11 separate Ethereum improvement proposals wrapped up within this Pectra upgrade. Now, they don't just upgrade the chain without testing things, which is good. And there's test nets for these purposes. So today, it was announced and revealed that the Pectra upgrade was deployed successfully to a test net. However, there were still some minor issues with the way that the deployment occurred. Not with the underlying upgrade itself, but there were some bugs or some mistakes that the devs have made in terms of deploying it on the test net. So not an issue with Pectra itself and the underlying tech and the underlying upgrade, but does this result in somewhat of a delay? That's kind of the big question now in everybody's mind. And I do think there is a chance for somewhat of a delay, but I think they were always targeting either end of March or early April, if I'm not mistaken. So the delay wouldn't be significant. What is significant is now the fact that we are on the precipice of another major upgrade for the Ethereum blockchain. And normally what occurs prior to that upgrade going live is you do have a buy the rumor sort of a phenomenon happening within ETH. The markets are going to be buying it up in anticipation of this big upgrade occurring. And so you would normally expect ETH to start moving up here. As we get more news and as we get more information coming out around Pectra and, the upgrade was deployed successfully on testnet, so on and so forth. Here's the date. We expect it to go live on, let's say April 5th, whatever. You should start to see the market move up. I would be highly surprised if it did not. Something to me that would signal that something is very wrong with the markets, that if people are not buying this, buying the rumors, so to speak. And then we'll see what happens. Normally when the upgrade goes live, you have it to sell the news. Okay, that event occurred, people sell off. Sure, we understand buy the rumors, sell the news, that phenomenon, within investing in general. So let's monitor this closely. We'll continue to monitor the Pectra upgrades, and we will see if this ends up helping Ethereum move up. And that, of course, should help all altcoins, right? That's what we need for alt season to truly come back. We need Bitcoin dominance to go down, and we need Ethereum to pump, and we need altcoins to pump. So let's see, does Pectra play a role in that? Hopefully it will. And looks like the final story I had flagged today that I thought was notable is that the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has asked El Salvador to stop buying Bitcoin in order for El Salvador to secure 1.4 billion in credit, right? And this is what the IMF does. They fund countries to develop, so the country can develop infrastructure, or pay whatever needs to be paid for healthcare for their citizens, whatever the case may be. IMF has been there for a long time doing that, and it's not unusual for them to have conditions. But what I really love about this story is that really a couple things. One, the president of El Salvador more or less has given them the middle finger and said, we're going to continue to buy. We are going to continue to buy our 1 Bitcoin per day. So shout out to Bukele, the president of El Salvador. I mean, great Bitcoin bull, as a longtime supporter of this industry, on the forefront of disruptive technologies, and he's done a wonderful job turning around his country as well, bringing crime down to levels that are essentially unheard of in Central America. So don't fade Bukele, and so I love what he did. But to me, this story signifies, what's that phrase that people like to say? First they laugh at you, then they try to stop you, then they fight you, and then they join you. So the IMF, they represent, fundamentally, they represent the sort of prevailing economic, financial regime that's been in place since, I guess, World War II. And they view decentralized, non-sovereign cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, as a threat to their existence and to their hegemony, and however you want to describe it. Bitcoin is a threat to the IMF and the other, sort of, I call it traditional or old school, economic movers and shakers, right? So the fact that they're coming after El Salvador and saying you can't continue your Bitcoin operations if you get this loan is not a surprise to me, right? They're in the we're going to fight them stage of this disruptive technology known as blockchain and crypto. And eventually, my guess is they join us and they find a way to embrace blockchain, they find a way to embrace Bitcoin, integrate it within what it is that they do, because that's eventually where everyone's headed long term. This technology is unstoppable, and it is getting more and more adoption day by day and more believers day by day. And shout out to all you guys who have been following this channel and been long-term supporters and long-term believers in crypto and blockchain. So 4 cool stories today. We had information coming out of Howard Lutnick regarding the conference on March 7th. Trump apparently is going to take some action. Let's see if it plays out that way. Finger crossed it does. We had the fact that the Bybit hackers are out of funds. They've sold all their Ethereum, and hopefully this helps, with some recovery on the price of that asset. Secondarily, the Pectra upgrade moving forward, deployment on the testnet, maybe a little hiccups there, slight delay, sure, but it is going to move forward. Looks like on time, March or April. And then the final story, IMF doing what IMF does, trying to shake people down and push people around. Bukele not having any of it. Bitcoin is unstoppable. Crypto is unstoppable, guys. And we'll see y'all on the beach.